I'm here in Monaco at the studio of Blake William Ward, but we know him better as the sculptor Blake. It's absolutely fantastic to meet you, Blake. Taking your history of what you do, you've got your degree in Alberta in Canada,
Yes.
in fine art. You got an honours in fine art. Then you went over to Paris and studied some more, and now you have this magnificent studio here in Monaco. What attracted you to study figurative sculpture?
Well, I was introduced to a lot of the museums in Europe. My mother, my family traveled through the museums through Europe, and I was introduced to figurative work. Figurative sculpture has always been something that I loved.
Something I read, is, you say here, traditional figurative Blake sculpture explores notions of idealized beauty. In this case, do you have an image already in your mind, or do you have poses or photographs, or how do you go about it?
I work with a live model, always. So
Right.
the piece is always created with a live model.
Right.
Probably spend 100 hours with him or her. And the most important quality for a model, for me, is someone who's interested in doing the work. So I'm not looking for a certain body type. I'm looking for an attitude.
How long do you take to create one piece, for example?
I would spend about 200 hours on one piece. I'd spend at least 100 with the model, doing the portraits, doing the actual body. It's a lot of work, and the models need to be committed. And so,
With that amount of hours, you really
Yes.
have to be.
as far as idealized beauty, I don't have a problem finding beauty in my models.
So would you say it's in the eye of the beholder, would you say the beauty in that case?
It's in the model. They're beautiful, and I just bring that out. Perhaps it's because I miss a wrinkle here or something like that, but the beauty is in the people.
And what are these three categories of work that you have?
Well, the first is beauty. The second are fragments, blakefragments.com. And the fragments are about landmine clearance. I thought, being Canadian, I grew up listening to the Vietnamese-American War. And I was familiar with it. And I remember being very, very pleased to hear that it was over. And I thought it was over. But when I found out it wasn't over, I was very mad. I was very upset, and it inspired me to do something. And I arrived back here in Monaco, and I had done a number of fragments previously.
These are part bodies that you're doing, aren't they?
Broken pieces.
Yes.
And when I saw them under this light, I heard their voice, and they spoke to me. And literally and symbolically, they represent the conditions under which a society lives in post-conflict situations.
Because you dedicate quite a handsome profit of each piece to this
Yes,
cause
the
as
original
well.
campaign gave 75% of the sales price to clear. And we were able to clear in Vietnam. We mapped mined fields in Angola, and we did mined risk education in Afghanistan, where we taught mothers about landmines to teach their children. We also did some clearance in Kosovo, which was a NATO cluster munition.
Mm-hmm. So you've got the beauty collection, you've got the fragments, and now you've got one called Rethink as well, haven't you?
Yes, the Rethink is all politically charged. So it's one of them, for example, called the Patriot Act, speaks of how the Americans have lost some of their freedoms. And it shows a woman who's bound and gagged and blindfolded.
One piece in particular is quite dark. You have Death of a Pale Horse.
Death on a Pale Horse was really inspired by a piece that was done by Turner, a watercolor that was done by Turner that I saw at the Tate in London. And it inspired me to do Death on a Pale Horse. And I struggled with the piece. I did it quite a few times before I got it.
There's so much
right.
detail in that sculpture there.
Death is so much a part of life, and we ignore it in our society. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. It's not spoken of. So I wanted to do this death, and I wanted her to be draped in beautiful flowing robes. So a lot of it was about the drapery, just to sculpt drapery, to get the beautiful flowing, the form.
Because it is beautiful. I mean, all your pieces are on that. Then I saw something on your website. It was the Burning Buddha video. It's very powerful and it's very, very moving. What inspired that? Is that one of your pieces again there?
Again, this is a rethink piece, and what I'm speaking about with the Burning Buddha is human rights. And
because you're very passionate about that, aren't you, really?
I get very upset when I understand that governments have failed to offer their population the rights, the human rights that we deserve. Mm-hmm. The Burning Buddha is a film that, a video clip of one of my sculptures that burns, that I pour gasoline on. So we have self-immolation. And self-immolation, I'm not promoting suicide, but I'm honoring those people who gave their lives in the ultimate protest. And although many people will disagree with me, and that's fine, I believe this to be a very difficult and courageous thing to do.
And it's quite symbolic as well.
Yes, very symbolic.
I think that takes me back to these fragment pieces, because even though the cause is really, really horrific, again, these pieces are, they're so beautiful.
Well, I believe they're beautiful, and I can see the beauty in them. Often, unfortunately, the story behind it it makes them tragic for people, and I have many people.
I think it leaves you pensive, leaves you thoughtful about each piece. I think that's a good thing. Cause
it is good.
I suppose to attract someone to a piece, you've got to have the beauty there and then see what's behind it.
All my work has a concept, well, certainly my new work, has a concept behind it, and the conceptual idea, the idea is very, very important behind fragments and behind each rethink piece. And that's why I call them rethink. We should rethink this situation. The fragments, although they were really, I can see the beauty in them, and I see them as being, even when they're
It was the
broken,
first thing I saw, was the beauty, actually.
They're beautiful pieces. Now, I make the whole piece, and then I take a little hammer to it and break it.
Do we see Blake in any of these works?
Well, you certainly see any sculpture that has my hands or has hands. Often they're my hands because I'm available as a model. And
it's like these.
I have some here. This is I work in plasticine because the hands are so fine. Now this one has already been molded, and so you can see it's been broken when we opened up the mold.
Right.
But I could repair it, and I keep them because perhaps I can reuse that hand, form it into a different position.
Because these can be molded.
They're all, yes, there's a little armature in them, and I can change the position of it. And I can easily spend a lot of time, 30 or 40 hours on a hand.
It's a phenomenal amount of time for one part of the anatomy.
But they're so expressive, and they're so delicate. They really have to be done correctly in order to be expressive. So they're a very, very important part of my sculpture, although the fragments, for example, have no hands.
And yet it still talks.
Still speaks, yes. But
Blake, thank you so much for talking to the Riviera Woman today. I'm in absolute awe. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming in. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and let's meet again next year, and we'll
definitely
do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.